Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The one and only Sydney Sweeney joins us. Sydney, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Tom Hanks and Robin Wright in my favorite movie of the year. Guys, thanks so much for joining the show.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Jessica Alba and Lizzie Mathis. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Kevin Costner joins us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
One of my all-time favorites, Vince Vaughn, joins us right now. Vince, thanks, man.
Oh, great to be with you, Brad, and great to be talking to Houston. Good morning to you.
We got Owen Wilson. We got Judy Greer. Thanks for joining the show, guys.
Thank you.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
We got Anna Sawai joining the show. Anna, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brad.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking at talking me funny, lad.
Megan Trainor.
Thank you so much, Brad. You're awesome.
Paris Hilton, the infinite icon herself, is on the show. Paris, love the film.
Thank you. I'm so proud of it.
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
Brad Gilmore!
Well, joining me right now is a director of the new film called Strange Journey, the story of Rocky Horror. He is Linus O'Brien. And Linus, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Nice to be here.
I want to jump into it, but you mentioned something right before we started recording, so I have to know. You said you have a Houston Oiler connection, and I would love to know what your connection is to Love You Blue.
Well, I was probably 8 years old. No, maybe more, maybe 10. And my father and I were doing the press tour for Shock Treatment, which was kind of like the semi-sequel to Rocky Horror at the time. And we were driving through Houston, and I was really into football, American football. And I was like, well, how's the team in Houston? They were like, oh, well, they're not doing very well. And I was like, well, maybe I'll start supporting them and that will change. And so from that very day, I became so enamored of the Houston Oilers, from their uniforms to the Astrodome. And then obviously through Warren Moon, and then Jerry Glanville and Jack Pardee and Alonzo Highsmith, and I got so into it for so many years. And I had to live through, I learned what it was like to lose and handle loss after that game in Buffalo where they were up 35-3 or something.
Yes.
And it was so heartbreaking. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And then when they moved them to Nashville and then they didn't call them the Oilers, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. Because my connection then was completely severed. If they were the Nashville Oilers, I'd still be with them. But when they changed the Titans, I was like, okay, that's it. I can't take anymore.
And they still try to have homage to the Oilers, but now us in Houston, we're very much against Tennessee Titans in every realm.
It's really unfortunate. So that's my connection to Houston.
Well, hey, you're a Warren Moon guy, a Love You Blue guy. I love it. Well, you know what? To me, Rocky Horror and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, obviously, it's kind of embedded into pop culture at this moment. I mean, a lot of people know it from the film, obviously, and what Tim Curry brought to the role, and he's so synonymous with Rocky Horror. I think maybe it might be like the thing that Tim Curry's most known for. And I'm a big Clue fan. I love Clue the movie, but I think most people would know him from Rocky Horror. So talk to me about, obviously your father was the man who brought Rocky Horror to the world, but why this film? Why now?
Well, I think that the thing about Rocky, there's got lots of things that it can be remembered for. But I think the main thing for me is, and that's been my experience throughout the years, and especially making the documentary, is that it's about community and connection. I think we're all lacking that as human beings. And I think Rocky Horror provides that for people who feel like a bit outside of society, like they don't fit in. They feel like misfits to a degree. And Rocky gives them a place where they can all meet each other. Even though it's been a real haven for the LGBTQ community,
Sure.
It's more than that. It's for people, even heterosexual people who just don't feel like, they relate to society and don't feel included. And I think that's the true power of Rocky Horror.
Well, one of the things that I spend a lot of time in is I'm involved with a professional wrestling company down here in Houston, and one of the things that makes me think about it, we always say we're the land of the misfit toys, right? We're all here because we're not all there. There's we never felt exactly a part of the whatever the quote unquote norm would be, and this led us down the primrose path. And I think that Rocky is the exact same way. Again, and to me, like just the cult of personality around the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, it's something that's so embedded. And people go all the way out, and especially if there's a place here in Houston called Miller Outdoor Theater, and I know they used to screen the film, and people would come dressed up. I mean, you'd see them for blocks and blocks walking to be a part of this thing, and it really just shows you the impact this has had. And I'm sure that being around it, obviously, for the majority of your life, and knowing what Rocky Horror was, did you see this? I guess from adolescence or what have you, of just what the impact of it was, or is it something, because it kind of grew, I feel like it reached a zenith, like Rocky Horror later on, it felt like this big pop culture phenomenon. I don't know if it always was there.
No, it's always been there. I think, it's been there since the midnight screening started. It's 50 years since they started. It's the longest running theatrical release in the history of cinema, and second place isn't even close. It's like a year and a half or something. So, its longevity has always been there. But I think, for my dad, at least, it took him a while to understand the true impact of it. I mean, I think he always kind of almost dismissed it as just a bit of fun. And that's what it was intended to be. He never thought that there was going to be any message involved. It was simply about the things he liked. But over the years, Rocky has proved that it's so much more than that. What inspired me to make the documentary is I was looking at the YouTube comments under the clip of I'm Going Home, which was one of the last songs in Rocky Horror. And each one was more heartbreaking and heartfelt than the last. There was a soldier on a tour of duty in Iraq who was like, I always play I'm Going Home because it helps me knowing that I'm going to get back there. There was a daughter who played it at her mother's funeral. I mean, it just kept going on. And I was like, okay, we need to really celebrate the fans who've loved it this long and show the world the impact of Rocky beyond the amazing performance of Tim Curry, my dad's incredible songs. Let's show the impact beyond that. And I think we did.
Now, when you're putting a documentary together, I always find it interesting, because with a narrative film, right, you have a beginning, middle, and end. Everything's written out. We know what we're going to see. A documentary, to me, is like the U.S. Constitution, right? It's like a living, breathing document, and it can change at any moment, right? And a lot of the times they come together in the edit. So, when you first start on the project, pre-production, now to people going to see it, how different is the final version of the film than what you originally thought it was going to be like?
It's very, very close because I knew exactly what I wanted to capture. Obviously, the story of Rocky Horror takes on a life of its own, from my dad getting fired in Jesus Christ Superstar all the way to the effect of the midnight screenings on the Rocky fans. And so to tell that story, it's fairly linear, right? There's a rise and fall. It failed on Broadway, the success of the midnight screening. So the story is all there. What was important to us was to show the context historically and also get my dad's personal journey interwoven into that. So, my dad considers himself 70% male and 30% female. And so to get his story about how it took him 30 years after he created Rocky to finally feel comfortable talking about how he felt as a human being. And it's ironic because a lot of people who saw Rocky for the first time were instantly changed, and yet it took him such a long time to come to terms with that. So weaving that into the arc that we had, that was the the trick of it. But again, it came fairly easily once my editor and creative partner and I, Avner Sholower, sat in the edit room. We edited the film in 2.5 months because we knew what we were doing.
I mean,
and what we wanted to see.
You have to have a super clear vision in order to bring all that together, in that amount of time. I mean, 2.5 months might sound long to a layman, but that is a very short, protracted amount of time to get an edit done.
Yeah, when you have, me and my part editor, Avner and I, we have very strong opinions, and we're very quick to accept the other person's opinion if it's strong. So that we'd known each other for 20 years prior, just as friends. So there was a shorthand there, which enabled us to be very quick with it.
So is it like best idea wins, and that's why it's such an easy process?
And don't be afraid to, as they say, the term says, kill your darlings. So even if you've got something that you really like, if it's not serving the whole piece, get it out of there. As much as you might like it, you've got to look at the thing as a whole. And we didn't want any of the documentary to drag. We wanted to give, you can take the speed down a bit if you want something to really have its place. But overall, I wanted the documentary to have a very kind of quick tempo to it. So we wanted to engage people quickly and just hold their attention all the way to the end.
Being that the story is so personal to you, obviously, and having your father's personal story told and interweaved throughout it, what you didn't find it hard to, quote unquote, kill your darlings because you're so close to the material, so close to the subject. I would feel like that would be a difficult thing to go, you know what? Yeah, let's take this piece out, even though it means so much.
I think it goes. I used to make music for a long time when I was younger. And I would, when I was making tunes, I would dwell too long on certain aspects of it because I loved it so much. And so I think probably the years and experience that I've had, I was like, no, let's look at the thing as a whole. Is it working as a whole? Does it service the whole? And you just keep asking yourself that question, and don't be afraid, and you'll get there.
It's interesting you say that because, I come from a music background too, and even recording, you sometimes will get obsessed with the mix, or you'll think, oh man, I could do that vocal track better, or if I put a harmony there. But at some point, you just got to let it out, right? You got to close the chapter on it, go, you know what, this is the song, this is how it's going to be, or else you'll tinker with it forever. Same with the documentary.
And also, and get good advice from we screened the documentary, at various stages for a few people. And they tell us, oh, this felt a bit long. I wish you'd focused on this a bit more, and take them for what they're, the suggestions for what they're worth, and and be open to it. Don't be closed to it because it's a collaborative effort.
Now we talked about Tim Curry, and obviously, the documentary, it talks about all aspects of Rocky Horror, but because I am such a Clue the movie fan and I love Tim Curry in general, what do you think about his particular performance made it the most iconic of his really storied career, and why so many people were magnetized by him in this film?
Well, first of all, let's say that there's an argument to be made that if Tim Curry wasn't the original Frankenfurter in the original stage production,
the stage play,
he didn't follow it through to the movie, we probably wouldn't, or maybe wouldn't, be talking about Rocky today. It's that iconic. And I think that the thing about Tim Curry and that character has to be what makes that character so appealing to both men and women is that Frankenfurter has this very male attitude, strong male attitude that he exerts. But obviously, he's completely okay with his own femininity. And that combination, especially to women, was incredibly attractive. To have someone who is a man, presents like a man in his attitude and his confidence, but at the same time is vulnerable enough to be okay with women's clothing and be okay with performing. That was incredibly surprising to a lot of the audience. I think the audience was shocked by how much they found that a character appealing, but it's that combination of masculine and feminine, and Tim's ability to go between those with a lot of confidence and attitude and chutzpah that just, made it one of the most, if not the most iconic debut of any actor, I think, a film actor. You know, it's such an incredible role, very liberating role, and he just pulled it off to a T.
It has to be. It has to be as far as debuts. I mean,
I mean, it's because it's so shocking. The role is so shocking, and he does it perfectly. So yeah, that I think that's the secret sauce between the character and Tim's performance. It was just you can't separate them sometimes. I think a lot of people who play Frankenfurter now have an uphill battle because, you know, Tim Curry's performance is so ingrained in our minds. If you're not coming close to doing what he did, you know, you often get a lot of flack, which is unfortunate, but I guess understandable for the fans who've loved that performance so much.
Well, of course, it's almost, you know, I remember Roger Moore talking about trying to fill Sean Connery's shoes,
yeah, of course.
right? And he's like, the whole time I'm trying to think about how I want to do the role, but Sean's in my head.
Yeah, it's very tricky. You have to kind of put your own stamp on it, and then just bring the attitude. Make sure you got the confidence, the attitude, and then try and do your own thing on top of it.
Now, it's always an interesting question to ask when we're having a conversation like this, especially about a documentary or any kind of film. But, you know, one of the things that I love when I see a stage play, when I watch a good documentary, go to a concert, go to a movie, I always love the conversation in the car that I have with the person, you know, driving out, you know,
sure.
like, or when it concludes and we turn to each other on the couch and go, okay, what did you think of that? That's always my favorite part.
Sure.
As the guy, you know, directing this and bringing the story together, do you have a certain conversation you would like to take place, or is that mainly for the viewer? Do you have like a conversation you would like for them to be discussing after seeing the doc?
Well, the best example of that I can give is after a film festival in Goshen, Indiana, the Riverbend Film Festival. I was in the airport on the way back, and someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I saw your documentary at the film festival." And I really didn't know that much about Rocky going in, but your documentary showed how important Rocky is beyond all the kind of pyrotechnics of the songs and the visuals. And so that was perfect. That was the perfect response, because we'd love to show how Rocky is so much more than just the incredible performances and the great music, because obviously that's what people see first, but it runs deeper than that. So anytime someone can be enlightened and invigorated by it, that's great for us. I mean, really the goal of the documentary was that when you finish watching it, you want nothing more than to watch the movie, go see the stage play, or put on the soundtrack. And if people get new information from it, and it shows them why Rocky's important as well, then that's great too. So that's it.
That's it. Well, you know what? I know conversations are going to be had. I know movies are going to be played. I know soundtracks are going to be listened to after people check out Strange Journey, the story of Rocky Horror, directed by this man right here, Linus O'Brien. Linus, I really appreciate you taking the time. Again, congratulations on the documentary and all the success of it. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thanks, Brad. It's lovely talking to you.
Have a good